I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Councilmember Rod?
Here.
Councilmember Foreman?
Here.
Councilmember Tatino?
Present.
Supervisor Albert?
Here. We have a couple of agenda amendments. Remove ID 9592, resolution from consent, and add ID 9600 to special consideration, which will be the bond amount for the Duchess Mall. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Presented as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Brian? All in favor? Excuse me?
Aye.
Yeah, I said it was the bond for the Duchess Mall, the performance bond. Okay. Next up, the adoption of the agenda, no minutes. Excuse me? Okay. Next up is the public hearing for local law to amend the Town of Fishkill Town Code, Chapter 143, Vehicles and Traffic, winter season parking. Presented as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Rye, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the public hearing is now open to talk about the winter ordinance. Anybody wish to speak about it? Any board members? Oh, sir? Come on. We're going to, Mr. Gabler, can you explain real quick what the change is going to be?
Sure. Right now, the code provides that there are certain days on which the parking on town streets is not allowed during winter months. It's going to be changed to provide that parking isn't allowed when there's a blizzard warning, an ice storm warning, a snow squall warning, a winter storm warning, or a winter weather advisory. And notice of those is going to be posted by the town on its website, and I believe it's going to be sent out over the, I'm sorry, what's the name
E-Gov
of it?
system.
Yes, that as well. And that's the portent of the law.
So basically, if it doesn't snow, you don't have to move your car. And if it snows, if you don't move your car, you're going to get a ticket. So, sound okay?
Sometimes you get a month, it's not snowing, so why should you be forced to park it? You know, and for me, I have to double it up in my driveway and block other cars. And so just when it's snowing, move. Pretty reasonable.
Okay. Any board members have any questions?
Nope. No.
Okay, make a motion to close the public hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Public hearing is closed. Do we have any new employees today? No? Next up is privilege of the floor for general town items, so you can speak about anything regarding the town of Fishkill. Ms. Joanne, you can go first.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I have to use the mic?
Yeah, bring it down.
Hi.
There you go.
My name is Joanne Dyroff. I live in the park condominium in Fishkill on Loudon Drive. Oh,
Just look
on
it up.
Loudon Drive. And let me get my right glasses, first of all. That's why I can't see what I'm doing. So I don't put it
Joanne.
away.
Daughtery?
All right. I'm a Fishkill native, and I've lived at the park for 46 years. I'm fortunate enough to have a wonderful view of the half-acre pond on the property and enjoy the waterfowl that visit it. Canada geese are some of our visitors, along with herons, ducks, and egrets. A few years ago, we had a large flock on the property, and some people complained about the amount of poop on our sidewalks. At the time, residents had access to outside water spigots with hoses attached, and since most of the poop was on the sidewalks near the pond, those of us that lived off those sidewalks would occasionally hose the poop off. At the same time, the HOA board decided that I and others were abusing our access to water just because we watered shrubs when the weather was exceedingly dry, and so the hoses were disconnected, locks installed on the spigots. This was after having this amenity for 40 years. However, in an effort to reduce the goose population, the HOA spent $1,000 on fake swans and laser lights. Nothing worked. For those of you who may not be aware, Canada geese live up to 30 years old, they mate for life, and are inspirational in the way they rear their goslings and prepare them for the world. This past April/May time frame, there were 5 goose nests around the pond. The geese tended these nests for 30 days, and just about the time the eggs were hatching, something occurred during the night when one or more persons came on the property, removed the eggs and any goslings that had hatched. One morning I looked out at the pond and all the nests were gone or empty. Only adult geese and prospective parents were left. Many of us sought to learn what happened. I contacted the DEC to investigate, but we never found out who was responsible. Bring you up to this past May. The HOA hosted a speaker at the annual meeting. Redneck Mike is what I call him. He works for Fish and Wildlife and talked about various ways of reducing the goose population when it's a problem. He pretty much discounted all non-lethal recommendations, saying roundup and extermination was the way to go. I asked him how the geese were killed, and he declined to tell me. So I researched and learned that they are killed in a horrific manner. Although they are a protected species, a permit can be issued if the following conditions exist. Geese are causing property damage, there is a risk to health and safety, or they are causing damage to other wildlife. None of these conditions exist on our property. Since this information is rarely, if at all, checked out, false or exaggerated statements can be made in order to secure the permit, which is valid for a year. Once the permit is granted, a contractor is hired to come on the property to trap the geese, stuff them into crates, and then load them into a specially designed truck outfitted with a hose, and carbon dioxide is pumped in to gas them to death. The carbon dioxide burns their throats and lungs until failure. It can take up to 45 minutes for them to die. They cry and moan the whole time. According to the Humane Society, it is a painful and distressing death. Redneck Mike told us that the meat would be donated to a homeless shelter in an attempt to make us think killing the geese would be a good thing. Not true. First of all, the geese on our property eat grass that is treated regularly with pesticides and herbicides. I don't think the homeless shelter people would be happy about eating goose meat exposed to carbon dioxide. Moreover, these trap and gas operations, called roundups, are done in the summer when geese are molting and unable to fly away from danger. If any baby geese were born earlier, they are also trapped and gassed along with their parents. This is truly a depraved operation. After gathering all this data, I decided to take action, and I contacted 2 animal rights groups, the IDA, In Defense of Animals, and APL, Animal Protection League. The IDA is a well-funded organization and has decades of experience in helping communities and municipalities deal with the problem geese populations. Both organizations contacted Rob McAvery, the HOA president, and our property management company, Town and Country, requesting to come to the property to do an assessment and then provide recommendations to modify the habitat we have to make it less hospitable to geese. They also both emailed informational materials. This is all free of charge. These modifications include plantings around the pond, grass applications containing grape powder, which geese don't like, and most importantly, signage to deter feeding of the geese. It's been proven that 3-foot-tall plantings around a body of water will deter geese due to the fear of a predator hiding in the shrubs and grasses. I and a few others have actually volunteered to pay for the landscaping changes. Regarding pond plantings, we already have quite a few reeds and grasses that grow around the pond naturally. I and others recommended they not be cut down several times. We were ignored and everything got cut down to the ground in August. In doing this, the geese are actually encouraged to come on the property. Moreover, the APL has a landscape designer who will do a complete estimate free of charge, recommending good plantings to discourage geese from permanently settling there. To date, neither the HOA president, Rob McAvery, or Town and Country has responded to several emails sent to them from the IDA and APL offering help. At the last open HOA meeting, President McAvery maintained the board has been dealing with this problem for years and they know everything there is to know. They intend to get a permit and exterminate the geese. The HOA has 9 members. They represent 185 owners. At the last meeting, when an owner asked if the decision to exterminate the geese could be put to a vote of the entire community. HOA Board President McAvery responded no. Another meeting attendee voiced the support of letting the animal rights organizations come to the board and present tried and true, non-lethal methods for goose population control. President McAvery again said no. The board knew everything there was to know about the situation. By the way, we have at most 24 geese at any one time. They do not spend the night, and they're pretty quiet. There's been no poop to speak of in the last few months, and the Humane Society has declared that goose poop is not toxic. If you pick it up and ingest it, you might have some problems. To kill the geese would cost owners thousands of dollars, and more importantly, this cycle of trap and kill would be repeated over and over again because new geese will come to the property to take advantage of the pond and the immense low-clipped lawn. In fact, allowing the current geese to remain untouched actually prevents new geese from coming in. In many cases, the new goose flocks are larger and they can be aggressive. In summary, roundups are not the solution. Recently, a town over in Highland Falls, I think it was that one, they paid $3,100 to kill 21 geese, and 3 weeks later, a flock double the size took over. So that was a waste of money. Unless habitat modifications are done, the cycle of trap and kill will be repeated again and again and will not solve anything. We're trying to prevent the first roundup and gassing from happening by reaching out to meeting attendees, the residents of the park who are watching this broadcast, and the residents of the town of Fishkill to speak out against trap and gas roundups. That's why I'm here tonight. I want to get the word out about this inhumane practice of trap and kill that will occur in our community and town if we don't push back. I encourage any comments, support, advice, recommendations that I can get from anyone. You can reach out to me at rocker215@gmail.com or call me at 845-522-1668. Also, you can make your voice heard by HOA President Rob McAvery by calling Town and Country Property Management at 845-462-2270 to voice your objection to this decision and get it reversed before it's too late. You can also Google the IDA at idausa.org to see actual videos of real-time trapping of geese and learn more about the IDA's good work in saving the lives of these birds. Last year, they were able to save 1,200 geese from being killed. I would like to leave you with a couple of quotes that I think are appropriate, and I hope my HOA members and the President, Rob McAvery, see this broadcast and rethink their decision to kill our geese. This is not a good business decision. It's cruel, it's shameful, and expensive over the long run, and it doesn't work. The community will not benefit by this decision. Okay, here are the quotes. They're very short. Immanuel Kant, German philosopher, he who is cruel to animals becomes hard also in his dealings with men. We can judge a man by his treatment of animals. Life is as dear to a mute creature as it is to a man. Arthur Schopenhauer, another philosopher, compassion for animals is intimately associated with goodness of character, and it may be confidently asserted that he who is cruel to animals cannot be a good man. Matthew Scully, American author, we are called to treat animals with kindness, not because they have rights or power or some claim to equity, but in a sense because they don't, because they all stand unequal and powerless before us. And that is it, my friends. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your patience.
Thank you. Ms. LaGoy?
Hello. I want to thank Joanne for coming and making a statement. So I have other things to talk about, but dogs and cats are regularly being brought up from the South to avoid what is widely recognized as a horrific death, which is gas. So I was very much horrified to hear that that's pretty much routine way of eliminating these geese. I've had a similar experience regarding another species on this property, and the knee-jerk reaction at that time was much the same: round them up and kill them. Thankfully, there were homeowners that all got together and we were able to mitigate. As you know, I'm here often and frequently about trap neuter return does work. They don't do trap neuter return with geese. However, there are other ways without just simply killing things. You know, we have enough killing going on. We don't need more. So that's my thoughts on that, and I would hope that the HOA would be willing to listen to the homeowners and come up with another solution. So I wanted to give a report on the cat certificates, the spay-neuter certificates, and thank you again for this very successful program. I believe at our last clinic, we had 5 people come with certificates, some with 2 cats, and so that really saved them a tremendous amount of money. So it really is very much accepted. There are 28 certificates as of mid-July. I'm not sure if more have sold, and Becky, thank you so much for getting that report like immediately. It was like a blink, and I'm looking at my email and there's the report. So I thank you for that. So there were 28 certificates at that time. I believe the first year you allocated $1,000, and the second year it was $500. I am here because I'm sure you're working on the budget now. I'm here to make sure and kindly ask you to keep the spay-neuter certificate program going, and I'm here to ask for another $500 to $1,000, whatever you can fit into the budget, so that we can maintain those certificate programs and help the residents. It's really been very popular. People are so grateful. I don't know if you're getting emails, but every single person who has a certificate, I encourage them to email you and thank you, because it was a unanimous vote, and so that is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Going. Anybody else like to speak?
Good evening, Rich Reese, town resident. I just want to ask you something about the snow ordinance. You said that, you mentioned that if somebody's in violation of the new snow ordinance, you're going to ticket them. Are we going to remove the car too? Because, I mean, there's no sense ticketing. It's not going to solve the problem as far as clearing the road.
If the car is a hazard to traffic, the town can tow it, absolutely.
Well, if it's impeding the highway department to clear the road or sand the road or whatever, I would assume that car's got to get out of there.
Well, that's their determination. It will often happen. I can't say it's going to happen every single time, but.
You know, I understand what you're saying, but I think that should be cleared up, because I think you're allowed to run into a lot of problems that way. But that's just my take on it.
Okay.
And I wanted to just make a couple comments on the police department accreditation. I don't understand what the whole purpose of accreditation is. What does it actually do for the town other than put a sticker on the police car saying they're accredited? It seems like it's more trouble than it's worth. I did a little research, and there. Supposedly there are in the area of a little over 500 departments, police departments in the state of New York. That's full-time, part-time departments. And according to what I was able to get off the internet, approximately only 165 are accredited. So the majority of the police departments in the state of New York are not accredited. So I don't know if the town residents are aware of that. It's not a necessity that the police department be accredited. If it's really an abundance of work, which it is. I was the last time Chief Dworkin was trying to explain the accreditation process. I'll tell you the truth, I was completely confused. I don't know what the hell he was talking about after a while. It sounded very confusing. You know, I think the police department's resources could be used for better things. You know, you're probably tying up one or two officers to help with that accreditation process. They could be back on the road. I believe you have a lieutenant that's in charge of it. He could be back doing his supervisory work. So that's just my take on that. And just one other thing I'd like to mention about the police department. First of all, I know you have Detective Sergeant Joe Clark on the agenda tonight to be promoted to lieutenant. I urge the town board members to do that. You won't find a more qualified individual. Joe comes from a City of Mount Vernon Police Department, which is an extremely active police department. He was a detective sergeant there. As a matter of fact, that police department supposedly is on par with the busiest New York City precinct. So it's a very high active police department. You won't find a more qualified guy. That's my personal opinion. I think Joe would make an outstanding lieutenant. And just one more thing on the police department. I noticed that when you refer to the officers, say for instance you're going to hire some officers, you refer to them as we're going to hire part-time police officers. It should be police officers part-time. And the reason I say that, in the penal law of the state of New York and the CPL of the state of New York, criminal procedure law of the state of New York, the definition for police officer is just police officer. There's nothing in there that says part-time police officer. You're either a police officer in the state of New York or you're not a police officer. Part-time only has to do with the hours. Full-time officer works approximately 40 hours a week. Part-time officer is restricted to 20 hours a week. Their training is the same, their academy is the same, their certifications are the same. So, to me, I would rather like to hear it, we're hiring police officer / part-time. Probably for most people it doesn't matter, but to me it does.
I understand. That's how we've been doing it. We could change that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Okay, that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Mr. Weissman.
Thank you.
Joe.
Yeah, I'm Jim Tomlins. I live in Mountain View Apartments next to Glenham School. Something's got to be done about the rent increases in the area. It's getting ridiculous. New owners that bought the Mountain View 4 years ago were given a tax break so they wouldn't get ridiculous raise in the rents. Well, in 4 years, rents have, depending on the size of your apartment, rents have gone up $700 to about $1,300 a month. And I mean, I'm on a fixed income, and now I choose between, do I go get groceries or do I go to the doctor's? And of course, I'm getting groceries, and the hell with the doctors. I mean, it's getting ridiculous, these rent increases. They're raising them over 25 to 30% every year.
We are discussing it. A couple cities have passed a law regarding that, and we might be one of the first towns to do it.
And then another thing is, then Mountain View, they put $100 a month amenity fees on.
I heard
so
that.
To make you think like they're not raising your rent that much. Well, $55 of that amenity fee is towards Optimum Internet. There's got to be at least 75 apartments in there where people don't have a computer or internet or nothing. So you're getting $55, probably at least 75 apartments. Where's all that free money going to? Is it going to Optimum? Is it going to the owners, or is it going to the people who work in the office pockets? I mean, it's everything. It's all getting out of hand, and nobody seems to be doing anything about it.
The town board here is working on it, and like I said, we might be one of the few in New York State to do it. So there's a couple cities that have done it, and I'd like to present a local law to the town board. We'll have a public hearing, and you'll be allowed to come for or against it at that time.
Because, I mean, you know, a lot of people were born and raised in this area.
I know.
And it's basically we're being pushed out.
The
And I'm not being pushed out of somewhere that I was born and raised.
The gentrification is a significant
That's not
problem.
going to happen.
And
So something's got to be done. And it's got to be done soon.
thank you, sir. Anybody?
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
No,
Hold on.
not to Julio, though. Who gave the tax break? Is that a county thing?
I didn't hear about a tax break, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'd like to add something to that.
Sure, sir.
Robert Brown, too. I live in the same complex. I moved in there in 2008. Between 2008 and 2019, I had about anywhere from $15 to $20 a year per month a year raise in rent. In the last 3 to 4 years, like this gentleman said, I'm over $750 with $125 extra for this coming year that's coming up. I'm disabled. I've been disabled since 2019. I'm working on a 2019 pay scale. How am I going to be able to afford that much more? I can't afford it hardly now.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
We're discussing it. I think Kingston, Beacon, Newburgh have passed laws. I'd like to pass a law with the town board here, and we're working on it.
Okay.
I understand exactly what you're saying. The new guys came in and jacked up their rents. I get it.
Yeah, and where do we go then? We can't go to social services because unless you're homeless, they don't have anything to help you with.
Correct.
So, what do we do with the aging population of people that have been working and now can't or are looking for retirement and now they're forced out?
We agree. Like I said, we have this on the agenda. We're going to discuss it, and I hope to pass a local law to alleviate the pain.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Councilman Foreman has a question?
No.
No, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else like to speak? Mr. Steele?
I'll give you this first. Oh, I'm John Steele. I represent.
It's okay, John.
I gotta look that way. I'm John Steele. I represent the Glenham Fire District. I live in Beacon Hills. I'm chairman of the board. Ozzy, this is.
This is a position paper?
We put together.
Thank you, thank you, thank
It's
you.
a living document. It's subject to changes as we find out more
Thank you, sir.
about the development. Most of what's in here is not anything you're unfamiliar with. A lot of it is what I spoke about when we were here in August. Joe, I'll make sure you get a soft copy from Mark. Okay. So, again, most of this in here is not anything you're not familiar with. You heard us talk about it when I was here in August. One thing I did want to talk about, though, Ozzy, I mentioned to you briefly outside. I know you were at our firehouse yesterday, and I don't know who was with you from the state because I wasn't there. I happened to be home that morning. If I had had a phone call, I could have met you there at the firehouse, or we could have had one of the assistant chiefs or the chief meet you there, because the assistant chief is also retired and quite often in the area. So if there was particular questions about that truck room, it would have been better, I think, to have somebody from the fire district there rather than you and the developer just, or, I don't, who was there at the firehouse yesterday?
There was no developer. It was a representative from the governor's office.
Okay.
We left here around, what, 11:30, Joe? And we did about an hour tour of downstate, Glenham Elementary. We passed the firehouse. I saw somebody in there, so we just took a quick peek in there, explaining that a ladder truck is not going to fit in there, and that was the purpose, to let her see that, so she can take that back to the people that she works with. That's all it was about.
Okay. Again, we'll make sure you have all our contact information. That happens again, we're local, we're in the area. I'm retired, I semi-retired, I work security in the school district, so sometimes I'm around, I don't work every day. The assistant chief is typically around, and maybe Ron Davis, another commissioner, is around. The only thing we ask is that if that's gonna happen, a phone call.
Okay.
And we could have been there and addressed any questions that maybe this representative from the governor's office had. I don't know if there were any questions or if there's going to be any questions.
The only questions was regarding to the big issue with the fire district is the ladder truck, correct?
Well, that's, you'll see in there's more issues.
I understand that.
Population, ladder, yes, absolutely ladder.
So-
But along with a ladder, you just don't buy a ladder truck and then put it into service and expect your members to be able to use it. The ladder truck comes with training. Ladder trucks also don't get purchased on the fly. They're designed. They take 2 to 3 years sometimes to get these ladder trucks, and as the supply chain, it's depending on where the supply chain is, it could take longer than that. There have been some ladder trucks that's taken as many as 4 years for them to get. Obviously, we don't have a firehouse that can accommodate a ladder truck.
Correct.
But that's if you do a 3-story construction. you'll see in there that we're not in favor of three-story construction there. In
Neither-
fact, we're not, you'll see we're not really in favor. I would much rather see economic development there. John, what you saw, what we saw in the Mid-Hudson News, I mean, Orange County gets economic development and they get recreation fields. We're getting 1,300 houses proposed. Greene County gets economic development on facilities that have been decommissioned up there. We're getting different. It feels like we're getting dumped on. Is it because of our location? Is it because of our demographics? I don't know. I don't know what the governor's thinking. Well, I have my own opinions about what the governor's thinking is on this, and I won't even go into that here. But,
John, could I say something?
sure.
I appreciate you coming in, and obviously, Glenham Fire's concerns are everyone's concerns, and you know that, and John and I were there encouraging you guys to make sure you come out and make sure you are on any agenda that occurs when there's a meeting with the supervisor and these representatives from the state and the developer. But I think that the whole thing with this project now, and this is not in defense of anything, it's just so new, and you got to understand, we don't want it, you know.
I get
so
that.
it may be shoved down our throat, but we're going to be fighting it in size, and everything that you're talking about is getting the extras and the goodies, whatever we can do, if it has to go in that direction, because we've already voiced our opinion. We don't want it, because yeah, you get a truck, but then you've got an aging population in that firehouse.
Yes, we do.
So it's
does every
recruitment.
firehouse.
It's more people in every firehouse.
Yeah.
It's recruitment. It's more people, and there's police expense. There's everything. So this has got a long way to go before anybody can be happy, as far as I'm concerned.
And I appreciate those comments, and I think the governor has an agenda here. And I think what she's doing, in my opinion, she's not being fair to us. The cost of purchasing a ladder truck, we're talking well in excess of $2 million to buy a ladder truck. We're talking in excess, if we have to build a firehouse, Rombout just put a firehouse up. Now granted, it's a 3-bay firehouse, drive-through, but if we had to do the same thing here, we'd be looking at $12 to $16 million to do 2 bays in the Glenham Firehouse, to rebuild that firehouse. We'd be looking anywhere from $12 to $16 million to meet current NFPA and the new OSHA standards, which may come down the pipe, which we've had numerous conversations about. In fact, I'm hoping that I'm on the agenda for the OSHA public hearing in November. I did sign up for it, but I haven't gotten a confirmation yet that I'm going to be on that agenda.
Where's that going to be held?
It's going to be a virtual, it's going to be available, it's going to be live, but it'll be a virtual. Dave Deniston from the State Association and myself have both signed up for it. I believe other members of the State Association Board of Directors have also signed up. But these changes come down from OSHA, everything changes. Training, facilities management, it changes every aspect of fire service, everything. The equipment you buy, the personal protective equipment you buy, the apparatus you buy, everything changes. The game changes completely. You talk about an aging population. Yeah, we're an aging population. I'm 69 years old. I still put a Scott pack on and go inside, and are willing to go inside a burning building.
I didn't mean to tick you off. I'm just
I have a
slightly
passion.
behind you in age.
I have a passion. I have a passion. Ozzy, you know this. You know my passion.
I appreciate your passion.
You're not only are you
John.
passionate, but you're highly schooled on the topic, so.
Commissioner Steele, does Joe have your contact information?
Yeah.
You have my email. I don't know if you have my phone number. I will make sure, I know you have Mark's phone number.
Yeah.
We'll make sure, I believe Mark sent you my phone number too, but if not, I'll make sure you have it. I have the email. I'm going to be at the meeting on October 24th at 11:30. Unfortunately, Mark couldn't be there because of the work schedule, so I'll be representing the fire district. And if anything else comes up, if they're here in this area, you'll have my phone number if I'm available, or if we can get the assistant chief. If there's any question about the facility, our needs, we can have somebody there. And again, this is a living document. What I gave you is just a preliminary, because as we see more of what this monster is going to look like, and I do believe it's going to be a monster. The comments may change. Like if they come to us like they did with Railroad Salvage and want to put narrow roads in and tell us to buy smaller fire trucks. Smaller fire trucks don't work up here. You ever try and spec out a fire truck where you got to put 1,500 gallons of water just in a tank on the fire truck? You don't buy a small fire truck. We have to carry water. We don't have a choice. Half of our district, you go out Red Schoolhouse Road, you go off Sunset Hill, you go off all those roads, Bedford, there's no hydrants up there. We're carrying water when we go to a structure fire up there, and we're carrying a lot of water. You don't buy small fire trucks for that. We have a 3,000-gallon tanker. We have 2 trucks, 2 Class A pumpers that each carry 1,500 gallons. That's the standard now for non-city engines, 1,500 gallons of water.
We share your concerns, and if you see the agenda, we have 2 special attorneys that we're hiring tonight.
One.
Just one, I thought we had 2.
We have the retainer coming in later on for the
On the other
fire
one?
people.
So we're
What's that?
going to hire 2 attorneys, one tonight,
Okay?
to help negotiate with the state regarding downstate, and the other one in the future is a specialist in fire department stuff, right, Mr. Galba?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We would definitely like to be involved in any of those discussions from a fire department standpoint.
Without a doubt.
Okay? You know, I can go on, I can be on my soapbox all night here, but...
Feel free.
I'm not going to.
All right. Thank you.
You've got a video online somewhere, I'm sure.
Councilwoman?
Hello, Louise Daniele, legal resident of over 30 years. I'd like to discuss the item that's purchasing the Roundabout Firehouse property on Cedar Hill Road. I think the board should create a law that lets the people vote through a referendum if they want the town to spend taxpayer dollars on purchasing property. We created a law to do that for the town, to sell the town property, after we didn't like the way the former supervisor basically gave land away to developers for pennies. It should be the same premise for the town to buy land with taxpayer money. Let the people decide through a vote at the ballot box. If not, you are no better than the prior supervisor. Regarding the 60 West Redoubt Road sewage issue, I think the health department is inept for failing to address this issue. The county elected officials like to give themselves raises and create new positions. They should instead focus on having those in the health department actually do their job. It appears that the homeowners do not have the money to correct the situation. As a former council member and water liaison, I spoke to Mike Tremper about this, since I live in this development. Instead of giving fake liaison reports that we hear from current board members about breakfasts they went to, or dinners in Poughkeepsie, or marching in a parade, or going to a shooting range in Dover, or countless photo ops that no one cares about, focus on quality of life issues of legal tax-paying residents, such as this, that may be hard for those on the board who don't actually pay taxes or water and sewer bills. But in any event, the process that will begin tonight to move forward with the property maintenance law is not immediate, and will take months to give notice, to come back before the board, of time to correct it, time to come back again. We're probably looking at least 4 to 5 months. The one on Van Wyck Lake Road has taken years. I can empathize with the homeowners who can't afford the $20,000 repairs, such as this is in an economy that we all have to deal with today. But it is unfair for them and gross to continue to put their neighbors' health at risk. I hope the owner can borrow money somewhere or from someone they know, or make a GoFundMe page, whatever it takes to rectify their problem, because their problem is now a neighborhood health problem that they need to correct. And who in the world would have approved this connection in the first place? In any case, the process should move forward to have property maintenance law have it fixed and then charged to their taxes. Whether it is now or later, they are responsible for paying for it. Those in the water district should not have to pay the bill. However, after exhausting every avenue to get a loan or take money from a retirement fund or borrow from a family member, I would donate $100 personally towards their repair. If maybe 199 other people did as well, we could help a neighbor from putting other neighbors' health at risk. Maybe they could create a GoFundMe page that would send the money directly to Camo to do the repairs. If not, we'll be back here in about 6 months after the process plays out, and then Camo will do the $20,000 worth of repairs, and the town will pay for it, and it will go to their next town taxes to recoup it. I hope they can come up with the money sooner than that, and please stop releasing your waste into the streets in the meantime. Discussing retaining special counsel to assist the town in the proposed redevelopment of downstate correctional facility. I read the agenda packet and was dismayed at the cost of it. Their usual fees for these attorneys are $500 to $525 an hour for a partner, $380 to $400 for counsel and senior associates, $300 and $350 for associates. But they'll do it for us for $485, $390, and $315. The next paragraph after that states they would do a blended fee for $395 for any of the attorneys. So which is the contract for? It needs to be clarified. But better yet, where is the money coming from? And is there a cap? I saw you looking, that we're also looking for a litigation attorney as well. This could quickly become hundreds of thousands of dollars. So do you plan on not creating the $100,000 sword or the $100,000 new dais? As it appears that Marie called it, we may need to use our rainy day money to defend ourselves. Against who? That's the most annoying part of this, the fact that our state government is controlling our town, overriding our town codes to give money to developers they choose and create large unwanted housing developments in a residential zone that will clog up our roads even more and probably never create the few true affordable housing units they speak of. So my tax dollars will be spent to defend our town against the state who wants to use, again, our money to build something that no one in our town wants. No one. It's long-term projects like this one that are projected to take 10 years. This should remind each of us when the election comes around for those at the state level trying to run our town that we don't want them in charge. Lastly, also I want to remind the board members that they should do their homework when hiring people and always ask questions. There are 2 candidates on the agenda to be part-time police officers in one resolution and in a consent agenda, which means they will both be hired. If you actually lived in our town a couple of years ago or asked more questions now, you would know that a prior board before you could have hired one of them years ago, but had a reason not to. But since you don't do your homework, it will go through tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, so my name is Amy Quinn, and I spoke to, well, like 1, 2, 3 of you already, so I just want to talk to more of my community.
You have to look at me.
But I have to
Do it this way.
Yeah, look,
But
talk in the
I
mic.
already spoke to you.
Talk in
Yeah,
the
but
mic.
the TV,
Okay.
people are listening.
So,
Bring-
I
bring the
live
mic
on
up to your
60 West
mouth.
Redoubt Road, where I just learned yesterday from my septic team, who I have been in contact with since, well, forever, because we bought this house in 2017 and inherited this very strange septic system, which was not disclosed on our house inspection.
Raise the mic
Can
up.
you lift the mic towards?
Oh, that's frightening. Okay. Yeah, so we inherited this very strange septic system where we have a holding tank that collects solids in our backyard, and in lieu of a leach field, our liquids are directed to our front yard where we have a small holding tank and then is pumped up the street. Since moving into this house, we've put in excess of $25,000 into that system, replacing the line up the road, replacing the holding tank, and since May, we've been on severe water restriction. We do not release waste since we have heard from the health department that it was leaking. So I just would like for my community to know that. Somebody actually in a pilot SUV in the middle of the night screamed at my daughter about sewage. My kids have had to start high school without showering at my dad's house. I cannot do laundry normally, and I just want my community to know that I'm not releasing sewage recklessly. I don't release sewage in that capacity. Also, being that we've already spent literally our savings on this septic system, which we did not know was not disclosed to us properly in our home inspection. We were told by our septic team that, which included a variety of different people, we were waiting to hear from the town because it was unclear whether or not the connection could even be, we could service that. It's not like I could just call my guy Charlie and say, hey, fix that connection. He couldn't even do that. So really, we've been lying in wait, waiting to hear back. So I come here before you, but really before you all, just to say that I'm not openly releasing my sewage in the way that you think, and if it's stinky, it might not always be me and my household. And to please stop yelling at my children from your cars in the middle of the night. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn. Anybody else? Ma'am? Hello. Hi.
Thank you. Hello.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Esther Jackson. Rafael Delgado would have loved to have been here, but he wasn't able to be here tonight, so my materials use the royal we, but it's just me. I'm here to talk about a proposed repair cafe for Fishkill. So I'm here tonight to ask for your support in launching a repair cafe in Fishkill, New York in 2025, which will be open to residents of Fishkill. I represent a group of organizers from both Beacon and Fishkill participating in Repair Cafe Hudson Valley, which is run by the 501c3 Sustainable Hudson Valley. By the end of 2024, we will have hosted 2 repair cafes in Beacon, and we have the intention of organizing more in both Beacon and in Fishkill in 2025. At our first event in Beacon, which was in June of this year, 66 people brought 85 items that Fixer volunteers were able to repair and divert from the waste stream. Community repair programs provide the opportunity for residents to bring household items to a local event to be repaired at no charge with skilled volunteers who are also their neighbors. Community repair programs foster a sense of community engagement, creativity, and fun. Repair coaches and community members collaborate to extend the useful life of things they own and transfer knowledge about how to repair household items. This strategy keeps many useful items out of the waste stream and is a service to residents, allowing them to save money. Also, hosting 2 repair cafes in a 5-year span earns 4 climate smart action points to the municipalities involved as a part of the New York State Climate Smart Community Program. So I'd like to ask the town of Fishkill for the following support. I'd like to request a waiver of the rental fee to use the Fishkill Recreation Center, and I'll mention that Sustainable Hudson Valley carries event insurance, for up to 2 events in 2025. I would also like to ask for a waiver of the public space assembly permit for up to 2 events in 2025. We're hoping to fundraise for this event from local businesses in order to pay for supplies and for lunch for our volunteers. While we will accept donations from attendees if they're so moved, our hope is to make all repairs free or available at only the cost of supplies. And I do have a proposed budget in here as well for about $1,000, so if there is any additional support that is possible, that's very, very appreciated. Thankfully, the city of Beacon was able to give us some financial support to host events there. We're also very hopeful that Dutchess Soil and Water Conservation District will contribute some financial support, but that's not a done deal yet. So thanks very much for your time and consideration. I appreciate any support that you're able to provide, and I'm very happy to answer any questions that folks might have.
Okay. Any questions?
Not at this time.
You want to put this on the agenda for discussion at the next meeting?
Yes. I mean, I really don't know you guys, you know.
Yeah.
You say you've got these things here and there, so I don't, you know. It sounds worthy, but I need to know more about it.
You say you've had a couple of events in Beacon already?
Yeah, Beacon, so we actually, the thing I forgot to say is you're invited to Beacon on Sunday, October 27th from 1 until 4 at the Beacon Rec Center. That'll be the second event that we have in Beacon. You could bring a lamp. That's a very popular thing that people like to get fixed. Textile repairs, there's going to be somebody helping with bicycles. At the last event, we had a welder who did sharpening of like lawnmower blades and things. He's not here this time, which is too bad. Beacon has done the Repair Cafe since 2018, but it did go on hiatus during COVID, which is like understandable. So this is like the rejuvenated organizing group.
Can I ask you, I mean, that sounds interesting. And your name is Esther?
I'm Esther, yep,
Yeah.
hi.
Okay. When you use that rec center, what kind of space do you take up and what kind of time do you take? and it's a one-day, one-off until the next one is scheduled.
Yep.
And you work closely with, obviously, those directors to work with their schedule.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
So what kind of space do you take when you normally do that?
We would probably want to use like the larger side, the gym side, just because there's a lot of table, like,
No.
as you might expect, people bring in a lot of, oh no, really?
Not the gym
You're not
side.
dropping
really?
any,
Okay,
you're not dropping
well-
anything on the wood floor. Not happening.
Okay, well, any part of the rec center would be well utilized, I assure you.
I think we got to run this by Jason. and get
I
his
have talked
input.
to Jason and to Carmine as well. I had hoped that they would be able to provide a little bit more feedback on the proposal, but we had one conversation that was like very fruitful, and I don't want to say that they were enthusiastic without having them be here, but it seemed as if you approved it, they would be amenable to moving
So
forward.
you're looking to do this in 2025?
The hope would be to do 2 events in 2025.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
up to 2 events.
let's do a discussion item for the second meeting in November. And then we'll talk about it then, and then we'll vote
Great.
on it one way or the other before 2025.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
please come visit us in
If I could just
Beacon.
ask one question.
Time out, yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I understand why you would want the waiver of the rental fee.
Yeah.
But why the waiver of the assembly permit? I don't understand why the permit would be waived. How
It
does
was
that-
recommended that we would ask for that to be waived in lieu of like a financial donation. So I don't know if we don't need a permit, we don't need a permit. It's not like a political gathering or anything.
I don't know whether you need a
There's no
permit or not
permit. I
either,
think
but
we
you're
need a
asking
permit
for a
for that.
waiver. It seems to me if the fee's waived, you still
Yeah.
come and ask for the permit to use the
Oh,
facility.
do you ask for the permit through this meeting too? Or
I
is
think
it like
that's
a
with the
separate
clerk's
process?
office, don't they?
I can't hear you.
The clerk's office for public space assembly permits?
No, building department.
Oh, building department, I'm sorry. So you go
So are
through
you
the-
suggesting that I should apply for the permit
I
before
I
we
would
meet?
wait, I would wait till after we decide to vote for it or not, before you do
Great.
anything, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Email us more information,
Great. What type of information would you like?
anything that educates me on you all.
Okay, great. So you're concerned about the people who are organizing it, or you're concerned about the event itself? Like,
I'm not using the word concern.
Oh, I'm
using
sorry.
the word educate.
okay,
So
you would like to be educated about the people organizing
Send me whatever
it?
you feel. Okay, and our emails are on the webpage.
Okay, so just to clarify, you would like more information about the organizers and more information about the event itself,
The organization in general.
the organization in general. And that, by that, you mean the people in the community who are putting the event together, not the sponsoring organization, or you mean both of those things?
Just everything. how
You
they-
want okay, that sounds
Yeah.
good.
Let
Great.
me pick through everything.
I'm very happy to do that. I'm a librarian. You'll get a lot of information from me. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Anybody else? Ma'am?
Hello, my name is Judy, and I'm just going to give you a brief on the good cause. I do recognize that you're looking favorably on that, and I appreciate that. I just want to say I've lived in the complex there in Fishkill since 2003, and we didn't get charged for the pool. They had a room in the back that these corporation took over and made put a treadmill and some weights in it and charged $40.
Can you talk louder?
Okay, maybe this is better?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
better.
okay.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing was that, everybody has to pay for it, whether you use it or not, they don't care, and also a barbecue pit, which no one asked for in the back. But I just want to say that for me personally, I have no family left, so I would have nowhere to go. They're pushing people that have been in the area out, and I think that there has to be some kind of accountability, some kind of either go by income or, for the new people coming in that can afford it from Manhattan that look at this area and say how cheap it is. So I do appreciate, though, that you are looking favorably on that, and I hope that we can go further on it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, miss. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am?
If I want to talk about good cause, do I do that now?
No.
No,
I mean,
You want to get your approval, right?
Yes, but
All right, that's the end of public comment. So the next part is we're going to go into executive session, so everybody has to clear the room. And
the reason for our executive
the
session.
reason is personnel matters?
Yes.
Personnel, right?
Personnel, yeah.
Thank you. Not the technical term.
Okay. You got it.
It's good seeing you, brother.
Come again. (8:02 to 9 p.m.)
Okay. Wow, that's good. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Next up is a discussion of the good cause eviction law. Mr. Gabbard, can you give?
Just going to skip the...
Oh, I apologize.
Reports and everything?
All right, who wants to go first?
I'll
John?
take it.
I'll go first.
John,
I
go
pass.
Greg?
I'll keep it really brief. Great job to everyone at REC for the fantastic San Gennaro Festival. Congratulations to everyone for a great show. A big thumbs up to everyone from the Highway Department for the work that they've been continuing to do, both for our park spaces and on our roadways. Really excellent work. And I did just want to say something that was based on a comment that we heard earlier during our public hearing about the snow ordinance, which is that the town law already provides that the highway superintendent has the authority to tow any vehicle that is deemed a safety hazard, and that will not be affected by the change of this law. That is how I've been given to understand that. So that's all I have.
John? Pass?
I pass.
Brian?
My life has been attending to my wife who's had surgery, so I didn't do a lot of liaisoning out there. I do want to congratulate the rec center on what I've learned was a very, very successful historical scavenger hunt. And so I heard very good things about that, so kudos to the rec center once again. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. John? No?
Nope.
All right. Next up will be, we don't have any presentations, now we'll go into discussions. First one is discussion of good cause eviction law. Mr. Gabba, where are we at on this?
Well, as the board may recall, we had discussed this in open session previously. I've prepared a memo to the board discussing the provisions of state law regarding the opt-in. You can enact a local law for good cause evictions. The main tenets of the law are pretty well set. It's 10% cap on raises in rents. That's a little bit more nuanced than a hard cap, but basically that's it. There are provisions that prohibit a landlord from terminating a tenancy unless good cause exists, things like misbehavior or damaging the property or non-payment of rent. And there are exceptions, some of which are hard and you can't do anything about them. For example, properties after 2009 have a 30-year period of exemption from the law, and then after that it would apply to them. Properties built prior to 2009 would be effective immediately as far as that goes. There's a little bit of discretion the board has, things like what constitutes a small landlord and the percentage that you're going to allow in regard to luxury, if you will, apartments, rents that are 245% above fair market value. You can change that percentage if you're so inclined. Small landlords, which the law defines as 10 units or less, you also have discretion to make less if you're so inclined. Those are things to be discussed. What I would recommend at this point, if the board's in favor of it, and you seem to be favorably inclined last time we spoke, is I'll present you with a draft local law for discussion at your next meeting. And if the board wants to make changes or discuss the things you have discretion over, we can discuss changing them. If you're ready to move forward with it as is, then you could introduce it in November.
Just for the landlords, I just want, if we get to the point where we can get like a senior to rent the basement or something like that, I don't want them to be part of this law. I want them to be able to get rid of somebody. Can we make that small landlord thing? One apartment is exempt if somebody has just one apartment?
You have discretion to do owner-occupied properties are exempt anyway.
So let's write that. Let's write that in our law.
Okay. But let me send the draft to you. Take a look at it, and we can discuss it. If you want it for your next meeting, I can have it for that. If you want it for November, I can have it for November. Whatever it suits you.
Okay, next meeting, and we'll schedule the public hearing for the 1st of December, maybe?
Well, yes, you could introduce it in November. That would be just fine.
Okay, thank you,
Steve,
Mr.
I do have just a question. I had mentioned it before. I don't think that we'd ever gotten to the point of you really being able to look into it. And if you haven't, I'd just like to ask that you do, before presenting us with the draft of the local law. I'm very much in favor of reducing that unit threshold from 10 to a lower number. But my concern from a logistical standpoint, and more specifically from an enforceability standpoint, is that if we were to reduce the number, say, as some of the people who've spoken before, that we would be defining a small landlord potentially as having one rental unit. My concern from an enforceability standpoint would be that a savvy person who owns multiple units at that point would then simply tie them all up under different LLCs. And I'm wondering what legal ability we have to draft the law in such a way that would prevent the proliferation of LLCs as a means of circumventing the law altogether.
I don't think you could do that. I mean, if they're gonna generate a corporation.
Well, I'm just wondering, is there any ironclad
There are 5
method
other-
of defending against that?
There are 5 other municipalities that I know of that have enacted good cause eviction laws. I can certainly reach out to their council and see if there's an issue to that. I can write to the Association of Towns and see if they have any thoughts, and I can get back to you for discussion of the draft local law to address that
I
issue.
appreciate that. Just, I mean, I don't know if it's something as simple as indicating that, rental properties that are run by an LLC the law applies to you regardless of how many units you have.
Well, I know in regard to, for example, short-term rentals, there are registration laws that are enacted by some municipalities that require disclosure of the owner of not only the LLC, not only the owner of the property, but the owner of the corporate entity that owns the LLC, to make sure that they don't have people, or corporation or partnership, to make sure that they don't have people circumventing limits on the number of short-term rentals that you can offer, for example. I haven't seen any provision like that in the good cause eviction local laws, but let me see what other people say, and if that's a viable thing to pursue,
Thank you.
perhaps there's something you can do as far as disclosure or registration goes, but.
That would be good. I'm trying to guard against the 10-foot wall, 11-foot ladder
Understood.
type situation.
I think, I just want, obviously I'm very in favor. I've expressed openly how landlords have been, a couple of them negative in my life. So I'm very sensitive to this, but I know that we have some small, owners of small numbers. In other words, I don't want to do something that hurts our small businesses. So I know we need to be balanced. That's my only commentary there. I don't even know what that, going to a small number, what that looks like and what that would be. And, I do know that there is guidance from the state on this that I thought was pretty fair on both sides, and I think that's what you were basing this from.
Owner-occupied properties with less than 10 units are exempt, and that's a hard cap. So, I think as far as small businesses goes, you don't have a lot of worries.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, we're good. Next up is Morwood Housing, a discussion of accessory apartments and buildings. Update on that, sir?
Well, I'd prepared in July a draft local law for accessory apartments for the town. I prepared it to you. I discussed it with you, and I believe at the July meeting, the outcome was it was tabled until December.
Can we do that can we sequence those 2 items together and get the public hearings for both at the same time?
If you want to
So we
move
deal
up
with
the-
housing in one shot?
If you want to move up the accessory apartment law, you certainly can do that. You're not bound to put it off until December. That's up to you.
But the other one, we're going to have the good cause, the first meeting of December, right?
If that's what the board wants, of course.
I just want to do both at the same time.
You can schedule public hearings whenever you want. All I have to do is give you a resolution introducing the accessory apartment law, and you can adopt it and set the public hearing on it whenever you like.
Okay. So when you give the other, is the other one ready?
The good cause eviction, my advice is for you to allow me to put a draft before you. We'll go over its terms in open session. Some things you may like, some things you may not like. Maybe you'll like it all and be ready to move forward on it at the next meeting in October. Then in November, preferably at the first meeting, you can introduce it and set a public hearing on it. That public hearing would be set for December because November is when you're introducing it.
Okay.
And you can do the same thing with the accessory if that's what you want to do.
The accessory, you and I were talking about that, and one of the neatest things in the marketplace now is how you can order a mini home online.
That's true.
And how you can have it delivered Amazon. Well, they'll bring one to your backyard, you got a home. So there may be people that may have some acreage or this or that and say, well, let me just order one of these and that's my accessory. And I don't know if we shouldn't have that kind of discussion, and because
What's the maximum square feet would you like, Brian?
you know,
What's the maximum square feet?
I don't know. I mean,
Maximum
just
square
in
footage
talking
for
about it.
accessory apartments is 50% of the square footage of the main dwelling.
Yeah, no, so we have to shrink that.
Brian's talking about is, there's a thing called tiny homes. You've heard of
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Tiny.
the way that the accessory apartment law is now being written is that it doesn't simply allow accessory apartments inside a home, it also allows detached ones.
Yes.
And the intent there was, well, an apartment over a garage, or perhaps there's a barn building, or a carriage
Backyard, yeah,
house, or something like that, right? But as written, you could, as Brian points out, order a tiny home and have a-
Can we do can we just put a maximum amount for the square footage for an outside accessory building?
Sure.
I don't know what that would be.
But it's a minimum that we're concerned about here. It's.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, you mean a minimum amount?
No,
Okay.
no,
A
maximum
maximum size.
accessory building. My house is only 1,500 square feet.
Right.
I don't want somebody to put a 1,500 square foot accessory building in the back of their house.
Well,
No.
they couldn't. They could put a.
Well, if they got a 4,000.
It's less than 50% the square footage of the main
Yeah, if they
unit.
got a 4,000
They
square
got
foot house on 5 acres, they could do that.
And keep in mind there's, yes, if it's big enough, but keep in mind there's a minimum square footage set by the New York State Building Code, so you can't have like a 200-foot square tiny house. It's gotta be
I'm
bigger than
looking just a one-bedroom, something like that. You figure 1,000 square feet is enough, guys, max?
Oh, I would think so.
Yeah, max.
So let's make it a 1,000 square feet max.
that. All right, well, since you wanted to have the two timed together, I'll give you a redraft of this for discussion at next week's meeting, too.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Or
the
week
setbacks
after next
the
week.
setbacks have to be whatever we have in our code right now.
Yeah, now everything has to meet the bulk
Yes.
requirements of the code.
Yes, yeah, I'm not letting people put 2,000 square foot accessory dwelling, that's too much.
It's not an accessory
Okay.
dwelling, it's a second house.
All right, next up, discussion to appoint the two officers. Everybody's okay with that? Next up is the discussion of purchasing the old Roundabout Firehouse property. Basically, we have the house that we're putting up for sale in a resolution that the town board voted for, nothing to put it on the ballot this year. It's an old house on 81 Route 82. We haven't used it for like 20 years. We'd like to sell it and use those proceeds to balance the purchase of this old Roundabout Firehouse property. You guys okay with going in the same direction, or?
Are you,
Listen, if we
are
can
we
get.
talking about number 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking at, I think we should at least get 200 for that house, and they want 280 for the highway department, the firehouse, and then we just pay cash for the rest and get it.
Did you get the?
You wanted the
I have a couple comments.
Yeah, good.
So, to me, this is two-part question. One, should the town even consider purchasing this property?
Okay.
We talked about who the possible tenant could be, and we're hearing the ambulance. Why doesn't the Roundabout just sell the property to the ambulance company? The ambulances, they all seem to be going out of business. I'm not so certain, Empress or any other ambulance company would be a legit, steady renter. And I don't even know why the town would even consider, why do we want to be a landlord? That's not what we're supposed to be here for. However, the second part is the cost. Now, I did a little homework, went on the controller's website, and I got some opinions from the Office of the State Controller. And I'm going to read a couple lines. When purchasing real property, the board has a fiduciary duty to acquire the property with the most beneficial terms, including price and the public interest. Okay, we all know that. To fulfill its fiduciary duty, board must take appropriate measures to ensure that the purchase price negotiated is upon the most beneficial terms. In determining the reasonableness, that's the word, of the price to be paid, the board may obtain an independent appraisal of the real property. In fact, under most circumstances involving purchases of property of substantial value, it may be beneficial and proper for the board to seek advice and assistance of 2 or more appraisers. Since no appraisal can establish value with absolute precision, the use of 2 appraisals for substantial purchases should be better enable to the municipality to establish the value of the property and to substantiate the purchase price ultimately paid. So if there's votes to go ahead and buy this, I really think we need to get an appraisal done.
All right, so what I'll do is we'll close this. If the house sells and we get a nice offer for it, I'll bring it up on a discussion and a resolution to get appraisers first, get a price for it, and then we vote on it. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, if does the town want to be a landlord? I mean, that's my first question.
I don't want to be a landlord at all. The problems with ambulance coverage is it's bad, and it's going to get worse. And eventually, we're going to be stuck maybe creating an ambulance district and then building a new building, and a new building will probably cost about $2 million.
Not to mention
I'm
that
thinking forward 10,
Okay.
15 years down the road.
Yeah. And possessing a property that could already be utilized for that purpose while we do not have an ambulance district to create and we're looking to contract out for those services could prove a valuable negotiating tool in potentially driving down the price that we pay for the services that we receive. And that'll be a big advantage for the residents of the town.
All right, so let's hop on this sooner than later about getting an appraisal done. Because everything takes time, and you're gonna wanna do this at a certain meeting, and we're not gonna have our information.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, close this out, and then we'll create a resolution and discussion for the next meeting to authorize us hiring an appraiser?
Yep.
Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Yes.
Okay.
Before we move on, I would just like to address one. There was a public comment that was offered on the sale and purchase of land by the town. Of course, I assisted you in the sale of town-owned land.
Yes.
Local law, which now places that matter on the ballot as a referendum, mandatory, so that the residents have veto power on the sale of land. I think it is a good idea in principle to have a similar mechanism in place for the purchase of land. I think it's a good idea in principle, but I think it's a bad idea in practice because tying up a deal for real property for a period of time sufficient to hold an election would potentially endanger the deal, and it would certainly place a burden on the property owner that's looking to sell the parcel, either to the town or to another bidder, and tying up that process potentially for several months. If that referendum were then to fail, that could have an adverse effect on the private property owner's ability to sell the property at a fair price down the road. So while I appreciate the comment and the principle in which it was offered, I think that advocating for the sale, or excuse me, that having that mechanism in place, a referendum on the sale of land versus the acquisition of land, it's a bit apples and oranges. Because with the sale of land, the town already possesses the property. But with the purchase of it, we're now requiring the cooperation and potentially the long-term delay of the sale of private land from another entity, potentially for months or up to a year based on the timing of elections, and that just isn't a reasonable burden to place on someone else. It's a perfectly reasonable burden to place upon the town itself, on the board to authorize the sale of land. And anyone looking to purchase land from the town should be willing to understand that process, but it's a different thing altogether when we're trying to buy it. That's just my one man's opinion.
Good, okay. So Joe, we'll do a discussion and resolution for an appraiser for that property. Thank you, John. Next up, discussion of sewer repair on West Redoubt. Mr. Gallo, real quick.
Well, under the town's property maintenance law adopted earlier this year, what the proper remedy is when someone maintains what's called a nuisance on their it's a legal term, on their property is for the building inspector to render a report to the town board regarding it and recommend commencement of property maintenance proceedings. The property maintenance proceedings, if the board authorizes them, consist of the building inspector going out and serving a notice of violation in order to remedy upon the property owner with a date set for a hearing before the town board. If the property owner doesn't appear, the claims in the order to remedy and notice of violation are deemed to be true, and the board is free to move forward with contracting to have the work done and the cost of the work charged back against the property. If the property owner shows up and either contests them or asks for more time, well, then the board has to, again, make a determination as to whether or not the claims in the notice of in the memo are, and the notice of violation, now that I think of it, are substantiated. If they are, then the board is free to move forward again with getting the work done and charging it back. You can give the property owner more time if they come in and they say, hey, I've commenced work and I expect to have it done within 30 days, or such time as you might extend it out to. So where you are right now is, I think you'll see later in the agenda, that you've received a memo from the building inspector discussing the situation at 60 West Redoubt Road and recommending that the board commence the property maintenance proceedings.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, so in the meantime, the issue is still bad? Okay.
Okay.
That's what we gotta do.
All right, next up is discussion of resolution to enter an agreement for language line translation service for the Justice Court. So the Justice Court is having problems getting interpreters, and there's a program where they can get somebody online, and Justice Raish would like to get this done. I'm okay with it. How about you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm good?
Need to have that service available.
Okay. Next up is discussion of resolution to adopt the 2024 current and adjusted base proportions. This is a yearly thing. Any questions on this?
No.
Next up is discussion of the levy of unpaid water and sewer district charges fees. Any questions on that?
No.
Number 9, discussion of resolution to set the performance bond for Continental Commons. Any questions on that?
No.
No.
He can speak at privilege of the floor for agenda items. In a minute. Yep, in a couple minutes.
So,
In a couple minutes.
in a couple of minutes, okay.
Okay, we'll go back to that one. Discussion, number 10, discussion of resolution authorizing the commencement of property maintenance violation proceedings at 60 West Redoubt. We already did that, we're good.
Yep.
Number 11, a similar thing, but this one involving an abandoned property owned by the bank that has about 20 old cars on there that we need to clean up. So discussion of resolution authorizing commitments of property maintenance violation proceedings, 448-450 Van Lickwick Road. Very similar. You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Yep. Next up, number 12, discussion of resolution to authorize the elevator contract. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Number 13, discussion of resolution retaining special counsel to assist the town in proposed redevelopment of the downstate correctional facility property. We're okay with that?
Yeah, I had a phone Zoom with these people, and they're very competent.
You met with them?
Yeah, if we need to, if we contracting with them doesn't necessarily mean we're going to start running up a bill.
No.
But at least we have them, and we have found them, and they're there on call should things get serious, and I'm very happy with these people.
Absolutely. I
Good.
think it's important that we have that in our pocket, so that way if it gets to a point where good faith discussions with the state are not yielding an outcome that's acceptable to the residents of the town, or if the state were to change its tack and try to start ramming things down our throats that we know are not going to be acceptable to the residents, that we have the people already in our corner who are ready to go to work on behalf of the residents. And I applaud the supervisor, Mr. Gaba, for locating these attorneys.
And I applaud the town board for working with me to establish a position paper that we took to the citizens and then we voted upon. And it's clear that this town board is together with this endeavor that we're heading into the future with the downstate redevelopment. So I thank everybody on the town board for that. Next up is discussion of resolution to reauthorize a contract for janitorial cleaning services. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Number 15, discussion of resolution authorizing the formation of a transportation corporation for on-site sewer improvement. So what this is about with the downstate, the Duchess Mall south of the Home Depot, any new development, the previous development had a private sewer line going into a municipal line. Any new development, they can't have that, so that we have to form a transportation corporation. Is that correct, Mr. Galvin?
Well, yeah, but they'll be responsible for their own on-site sewer improvements, whereas if they were in a district, that might fall to the town.
Yeah.
So this requires them to pay for it.
It protects us.
Well, if they form the transportation corporation, all you're voting on now is giving them permission to do it.
Yes. Okay. Next up is discussion of resolution approving the amount of performance bond for the same property to prepare it for development. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Next up is discussion of resolution to set the public hearing for the 2024 Special District Benefit Unit Rolls. I think we got that scheduled for what, Madam Clerk? The first?
I didn't do this one, I was away last week.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure when it's scheduled for. Well, wait a second, it's attached to the...
November 6th.
Thank you, I was going to say it's attached to this, so I was just opening it. Thank you very much, sir.
What's the latest we can do that, sir?
That you have to do it before the bills are sent out for benefit assessments. So you could probably push it into late December?
No. I'm
Why
talking
do we
like,
need to-
listen, if we pass the budget, I'd like to cancel the first November meeting. That's where I'm going with this. So I'm okay with doing this at the second November meeting.
The benefit assessment hearings? Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so we can push that out, Madam Clerk, for the 20th, I believe?
Hang on a second, is this a resolution in consent?
Yeah,
Then we'll just need to adopt it as amended.
yeah, you're going to have to change it.
Yeah.
Okay,
We-
so
we can do
change-
that.
we can
It's
change
just
the date?
a procedural step, that's all.
So adopt the consent as amended.
Doing my job. Okay,
Amended
so
20th.
16, so 17. You're changing the public hearing date
Yeah.
to when, sir? I missed all
The
that.
20th?
To what?
November 20th.
Thank you.
Okay, that's good. So next up is privilege of the floor for agenda items. So you can speak about anything that's on the agenda. Yes, ma'am?
Good evening. My name is Kristen Dujardin, and I live at 88 Star Mill Road in Dutchess Park. I'm here to urge the board to take immediate action on the resolution of the sewer issue at 60 West Redoubt. This is a public health issue. My yard has become a receptacle for someone else's raw sewage. My husband and I have children, we have pets, and we can't use our yard or have people over because of the smell of sewage. This is through no fault of our own. And who knows what is being spread through this wastewater, because no one here can say with certainty that there aren't diseases in this water flowing down the streets as if we're in medieval times. There are multiple bus stops that use this corner, and countless people walk by with their pets every day. They have no idea what they are walking through and tracking into their own homes. This is disgusting. My husband and I pay our bills, we pay our taxes, and we've lived in Dutchess Park for over 15 years. I do not understand how this is continuing to be allowed to happen. This pump needs to be locked, the homeowners need to pay to have their sewage trucked away, and work to repair this pipe needs to begin immediately. This is simply not acceptable and cannot go on for months. I will say again, this is a public health issue. I hear tonight claims that the tank is no longer being used, but then where is the sewage going? Neighbors that are actually here in the room tonight drove by this past weekend and were overwhelmed by the smell of sewage at 1 a.m. When we wake up in the mornings, the road is wet. When we go to bed at night, the road is dry. It is only wet in the path from the sewer main head in my front yard around the corner. I have pictures from this past Saturday morning and have previously sent many of you video and pictures from past times that I've recorded them. Supervisor Albrook, you've stood in my yard, seen the stains on the road.
I did.
Camo has been there and seen the stains and the road wet from sewage that was recently run. The pump is being run at night, presumably when fewer people will notice what is happening. I also just became aware within the last week of a separate stream of water running down the driveway from 60 West Redoubt down the road from their basement door multiple times a day. It is flowing into multiple storm drains as if a washing machine or dishwasher is being drained. I have video of this from this past Saturday. We have seen the water flowing as late as this week. Who knows what's in that water, but per the DEC, chemicals cannot be put into storm drains. And the road is now stained where this water flows, so clearly this is not clean water either. It also gives me more concern about how concentrated the sewage in my front yard is. I'm sorry that proper due diligence was not done when this home was purchased, but that is not my family's fault. That is between the homeowners at 60 West Redoubt and potentially their title company, lawyers, and previous homeowners. It is not the fault of anyone in this room. This issue needs to be fixed immediately, and while I understand and appreciate process, this is not only a nuisance, but a public health issue that needs immediate attention. This cannot continue, and I urge you to take action tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gabb, there was another option with this. If they agreed to sign a contract that we did the work, what was that you told me before this?
In the event that the property owner would consent that they have a property maintenance violation, and we're willing to sign off on an agreement saying that, just as under the code, it's charged against their property, we might be able to speed up the process by a couple of weeks, maybe as much as a month. But to go through the process and make sure everything's done according to the law is really, I realize it may not be in the property owner's best interest, but it's in the town's best interest. We could certainly talk with the property owners and see if they will be willing to come up with something else, but the town cannot immediately go on private property and make repairs. Can't do it.
Can you clarify what the process is then if they don't agree to sign?
Then what's going to happen is there's going to be a hearing before this board in November, and the board will, if the problem has not been fixed at that time, well, I don't think we have to actually put it out for bid. I think we can still do it under the town's contracts. Go in and have KMO, and they have a contractor who assists them repair the line. What's going to happen is a line will be run in Redoubt Road up to, what is it,
Star Mill.
Star Mill Drive, which is where the town's line is, and the cost of it will then be assessed against the property owner's property. But that will probably be December at the earliest, maybe late November if we're lucky.
And there's nothing that could be done to remove their sewage properly in the meantime? I mean, we can't charge them to have a septic, like a removal company come? There is raw sewage flowing down the street.
Well, the only thing that could be done is the building inspector could condemn the building, and then they'd have to vacate it. I don't think anybody wants to put people out of their homes, so we haven't come to that yet.
Okay, so I just live with someone else's sewage in my front yard?
The town can only do what the law allows the town to do, and the town's doing everything that it can. As I said, and Ozzy just indicated, if there's a way to speed it up, we'll certainly work with them to speed up the process.
Do we have any idea of the cost for this?
20,000.
20. Kayla gave a...
So
A number.
we're going to stick with the property maintenance law,
Okay.
and we'll see if Mr. Gaba can, if they agree that we can fix it and they put it on the bill, we can save another month. If they don't agree,
Which,
We might
based
end
on
up there in the
tonight, right?
same-
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, is that okay? I know it's not okay.
It's not okay, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to contact anybody I can. It's not okay.
Understood.
Thank
But
you.
we'll, Mr. Gaba, we'll talk to the Quins, and if they forego it and say we could just do it, let's just do it that way. And Mr. Tremper said he can get this done pretty quick.
Okay.
So it's not a matter of once we start, we can do it pretty quick. It's just a matter of getting to the point legally where we protect the town from any litigation or anything like that. That's all we want to be. Because I've been to your house, I saw the puddles. I know you have kids, and I
This
I
is a
saw
really
the,
difficult thing for you to have to
I
deal
saw the
with.
driveway with the stuff coming out too on my way back to the car. I saw that. So,
I appreciate it. Thank
If there
you.
was any way to speed it up, trust me.
so Mr. Gaba, let's contact the
I'll
Quins.
contact the Quins tomorrow. I don't-
Joe, make sure that gets done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ms. Daniele?
Louise Daniele. I just want to say, while we were outside in the hallway for over an hour, I got a chance to speak to that couple, and I want to clarify that the health department did contact them. I had the wrong information. So she has been speaking to the health department. I'm not really sure what the true story is on this. All I know is that if they had the money, they would have paid to do it. So I know that Mr. Gaba would probably say there's no way for us to extend how they can pay, but if it gets done, is there any option for them to not have to pay in January? Is there an option will that go on the January property tax bill, or is it the following year?
So 2026, it'll probably be going on it.
Well, if you speak to them, they may be agreeable to that. They just need time. They told me they don't have the money.
The tax bill's going to be done by the time you do
Yeah.
the work, even if you speed it up, so it won't be until 2025 as a practical matter.
Right.
I can't promise that, but
Right.
that's what I believe.
Okay. I could have Mr. Tremper just, bill a little later then, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. You could certainly work out something along those lines if that's what it came down to, but they're going to want to get paid. So
No,
the town's gonna have to front that
basically,
money.
he's got a $1 million contract, so he gets paid.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daniele. Anybody else? Sir, I'll do you last. Yeah. Hello.
Hi, hello again. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight and for your dedication to addressing the pressing issues facing our community. Once again, I'm Esther Jackson. I'm a local homeowner and taxpayer living in Fishkill on Cary Avenue, and I've been following the town's consideration of good cause legislation and just wanted to share my thoughts. I'd like to first express my sincere appreciation for the board's proactive approach to tackling good cause and other housing topics. We've seen that tonight. It's really appreciated. Your willingness to listen to your constituents is truly commendable. As a homeowner, I think it's essential that everyone in our community has access to quality, affordable housing. Unfortunately, when tenants are priced out or evicted, it makes our community less stable, and it isolates those who are priced out or evicted from the community they have built. In some cases, seniors who have spent their entire lives in Fishkill, and you heard from a couple of those people earlier. According to the American Community Survey 5-year data, 2009 to 2022, there are a total of 3,726 renter households in Fishkill, which has a total of 9,946 occupied units. That means that almost 37% of all Fishkill households are renters. So far in 2024, according to the New York Counts eviction dashboard, 36 evictions have been filed. 50 evictions were filed in 2023. I urge the town to pass the strongest version of good cause legislation possible at this time, including a strong definition of a small landlord as the owner of one unit. This would ensure that the most Fishkill residents possible are protected from unfair evictions. Only 31% of Fishkill renters live in buildings with 10 or more units, which means that unless the small landlord definition is set at someone renting one unit, up to 69% of Fishkill renters will not be protected by this legislation. So the small landlord definition is a really important piece of this. By passing comprehensive good cause legislation, we can join other local governments in protecting our most vulnerable residents and making Fishkill a more stable and equitable community for all. Thank you again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody else over here? We're good? Sir?
May I say something? Dominic Broccoli, Continental Commons. May I say something before we speak about why we're here? I'd just like to, the young lady who spoke about sewage in front of her house, I'd like to help out in any way I can. I'd like to donate 10% of whatever the cost is to help the town in that situation. That was a very sad situation to have sewage where your children play. So if I can be of any help, I'd be more than happy to, but that's not why we're here. I have my attorney here to speak.
Good evening, Corey Salomon from Zarin and Steinmetz here tonight on behalf of GLD3. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the performance bond that we're discussing this evening. Saw the CPL memo, the approximately $2.62 million, and we note that in the resolution and in the recommendation, it talks about a performance bond, and I understand that it's town practice to do it through a letter of credit, but that's putting a burden on Mr. Broccoli here to put $2.6 million in with the bank that is just going to sit there. And we were wondering if there's any way that we could reduce that, say 10%. I understand that's been done for the Healy Hyundai property, where we put 10% down on that bond, or on the letter of credit, if that would be a possibility.
10% down, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, instead of putting a letter of credit for $2,600,000, do $260,000, reduce it. I mean, I believe that was something similar that was done for Healy Hyundai, unless I misunderstood.
I don't recall anything like that being done for Healy Hyundai.
Stephen, closer to the mic, please.
I don't recall anything like that being done for Healy Hyundai.
I mean, that was,
we get a report from CPL, and the town board considers it. The town board isn't necessarily bound by it, but if they're going to deviate from it, they need to have a good reason to deviate from it. This is usually what is said is the amount of the undertaking. Now, the town code says that it has to be by cash, letter of credit, or you can assign a bank account, which I don't know if anybody's ever done, maybe. But I don't know this discount you're talking about. I'm not following you.
Mr. Gaba, from what I understand, it says in the town code it could be a bond as well?
No,
Well, that's what it says.
not for performance, it doesn't.
So you're saying a letter of credit. Now, a letter of credit isn't just a letter. That means I would have to put $2 million in an account, just sit there, right? Is that what a letter of credit?
Work, yeah.
So I would have to put $2.6 million, I can't touch it, it sits in an account, then I would have to finance the project. Do you think that's fair, Mr. Gaba?
That's the way the code's written. Everybody does that.
This is a new code?
No, the town code's been around forever.
How long?
As long as I've been here, longer still.
Well, how long have you been here, Mr. Gaba?
20, seems a lot longer than.
2.5 years.
You've been the town attorney for how many years? 20?
No, not 20, like 2.5.
Okay, so 2.5 years it's been around. It was never around
The
before
code
that?
was here long before I was. This code hasn't changed since it was drafted, probably, I would guess, the 90s, but I don't
So
really know.
every project that was built had to put the cost of the infrastructure in an account and they can't touch it?
Well, it has
Maybe I don't understand what a letter of credit
Security
is.
has to be posted for it, sure.
Did you want us to pass this or not?
I just have, is there any flexibility? Can we put a portion in a letter of credit and the rest in a bond that protects your interest as well?
The code specifically says letter of credit, cash, or assignment of bank account. It doesn't allow for bonds.
Now, I gotta show you something. This is the resolution on Continental Commons.
On Continental Commons?
Continental Commons, that's what we're
Yes.
talking about.
Okay.
Letter of credit or by bond.
Yeah, but that's not what the code says. Resolution can't trump the code.
I think the resolution should be drafted maybe more clear so everyone fully understands that. Because it says it in the CPL memo as well.
But that's not what the code says.
I'm not arguing that point with you. I was asking if there was any flexibility here to have some sort of hybrid, because again, to park 2.6.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you could think of some way, I'll certainly bring it to the board, but I don't know of any.
All right, fair enough. All right.
Let's see all right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is a consent agenda. We need to amend the base portion.
Resolution 13.
13, just the date. From the
Yes.
6th to the 20th, I'll present that amendment as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Now to adopt the consent
I'll make a
agenda.
motion to adopt the consent agenda. I'll make a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Just to be clear, Ozzy, I'm sorry, number 16 was pulled from consent.
Which one was 16?
The Hudson Properties
Yeah,
performance
Yes,
bond?
that was pulled.
Okay, sorry.
Oh,
just
yeah,
wanna
that's
make sure.
consent. I'm
Just
sorry,
wanna
that's
make
an
sure.
item of special consideration. Okay, I'll present that as motion. Can I have a second?
Second, as amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, we're into resolutions now. First up is resolution to promote Detective Sergeant Joseph Clark to lieutenant. Now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Fishkill appoints Detective Sergeant Joseph Clark to the position of police lieutenant, part-time effective September 5th, 2024, at an annual pay rate of $35,000 or soon after, as practical, approved by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources. Be it further resolved, the town supervisor and his designee be hereby authorized and directed to take all necessary and convenient to give full effect to this resolution. I present it as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up is resolution for setting performance bond on Continental Commons, ID number 9576, whereas GLD3 LLC has applied for and received the plan approved from the Town Planning Board and proposed commercial development known as Continental Commons, Town Application 15-002, and whereas the Planning Board's approval approval, resolution required a condition of approval, posting a performance bond, and whereas the town's engineer consultant CPL has proposed setting the amount of the performance bond at $2,670,197. Now therefore, yes,
Correction, $2,620,197.
my apologies, $2,620,197. Now therefore it be resolved as follows, that the town board hereby sets the amount that the said performance bond at 2.620, period 197, and that the undertaking of the performance bond shall be posted in cash or by letter of credit or by bond in a form acceptable to the town attorney. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll just offer as an amendment the clarifying language to remove the words "or by bond."
Yeah, I don't know how that got in there.
I don't know how it got on there. All right, so let's amend that to take out the bond.
Yeah.
So I amend the resolution to remove bond. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now let's adopt.
I'm opposed.
You're opposed? Okay, so it's Greg, Ozzy, and Brian, yes. John, no, to amend it. Now we're going to vote for the resolution. I'll present the amended resolution for a vote. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, can I just ask something?
Yes.
Because these guys are they here?
Yeah, you're still here. Yeah, back there.
So I think the issue is, Healy had a bond, had a project, and they were able to get a letter of credit for $350,000 based on a CPL number of 3.3 million, whatever that number was. And this project is 2.6, and we're requiring 100%. And I think that's where the community, there's a misunderstanding, not a misunderstanding, just I don't think we're on the same page here.
Mr. Gabbard, go through the infrastructure differences. And
Am I wrong, or?
That's exactly what my question was, is that I thought their bond amount was originally, 3.2, and they got to pay 10%. And so if that precedent had been set, that's what I was requesting here. Nothing more or less than what happened there. If I'm mistaken on what happened there, but that was my understanding.
Well, again, I'd be happy to look into it, but I don't recall anything like that happening with Healy. There are two figures when it comes to estimates for completing site work. Two figures when it comes to completing estimates for site work. The first figure is the total amount of building whatever it is that's proposed to be built. And if it's a building and its infrastructure improvements and its landscaping, what have you, that may come to, pick a number out of a hat, $4 million, okay? The town makes it a practice to require maintenance security, which is posted after performance security, to be based on that total figure. But the total figure has nothing to do with what's required to be posted for performance security, because performance security is being posted so that the town can, if the property owner doesn't go forward with construction, remediate the property and put in whatever necessary infrastructure improvements will be required as a result of having disturbed the site and starting work. So drainage, roadways, earth moving, erosion control, all those types of things. And those aren't public improvements per se, but that's what the town requires in order to restore the property in the event that the property owner doesn't go forward. And those types of improvements are listed. This is the CPL Continental Commons bond estimate for site/utility work. Now, that's not talking about building hotels or building retail structures. That's talking about the on-site earth moving and improvements and landscaping. Those are the two. Now, I believe that's built into site and utility work is probably the water and sewer infrastructure. I don't know exactly how this broke down, but the figure's so large, I think it almost has to be.
It has to, yeah.
And that's what they came up with as a figure, $2,620,197 just for the site/utility work and the landscaping. And that's what they're being asked to post. Now Healy, and I don't remember Healy exactly to be honest with you, but I don't believe that they had anywhere near as high a cost for site work, utility work. Their cost for the overall site was probably based largely on the paving and putting up the retaining wall and all that other types of things. And so that's how that one was. I don't think there was any I'll have to look back on the record, I just don't recall, but I don't think there was, gee, their figure's 3 million, let's give them a 10% discount because it would be easier for them to post the undertaking. I don't remember anything like that happening. And certainly, it's not, if it did, it's not allowed under the town code. So that's how this figure was come up with, and I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, if the board's willing to act on the resolution tonight, great. If you want to wait and discuss it, you can pull it from the agenda and vote on it another time.
We already voted to amend it. I presented as a motion for a vote. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I mean, so if we didn't vote this up, you want to try to find a less expensive avenue, but it may not even exist. You may come back and it's the same amount.
And it may be the same amount. I mean, again, my suggestion, and again, I think it protects the town's interest, is the 10% letter of credit and a bond, but Mr. Gaba is saying that even if you wanted to do that, that you don't have the authority. Is that correct?
That's correct.
No, we don't. So, Mr. Gaba, I go by his recommendations on these things, and
Well, let me say this to you too, Brian. Let's say I'm wrong. Could happen. I've been wrong before. Maybe I'm
do that
wrong.
to me in
But
front of everyone.
nobody's perfect. So you adopt the resolution tonight, you set the amount of the bond. They can come back and say, please amend the bond amount to let us pay, 10% by letter of credit and the rest by bond.
I'm not going to agree to that.
Well, no, but I mean, they would have the right to come back and ask for it, is the point. If you adopt it tonight, it's not set in stone, and there's no way that they could possibly get it changed. Maybe they can if
So we could adopt it tonight, and you could still look into
Of course.
the Healy comparisons and give us a recommendation after that based on
Well, they'd have to come
any-
back and ask for an amendment.
Right.
I could certainly report to you on what it is they're saying, tell you what happened.
Okay. Then I'm happy to stand by my vote to adopt.
I'll go that route. I'll leave it up to them to come back and, work with you. So
So you're going to vote yes?
I'm a voting yes.
John?
Nah, I'm not sure.
Okay. It's abstain now.
Is that a no or an abstention?
I'm not sure. We haven't voted yet.
We just
We
did.
just
We just did.
I'm a no.
3-1. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have one item for special consideration, the resolution adopting, approving the performance bond for Hudson Properties. This is the Duchess Mall. Whereas Hudson Properties, and this is a $3 million one. Whereas Hudson Properties LLC has applied for and received a site plan approval from the Town Planning Board for proposed redevelopment of the Duchess Mall. And whereas the Planning Board's approval of the resolution is required as a conditional approval of the performance security, whereas the town's engineering consultant CPLs proposed setting the amount of the performance security at $3,070,594. Now therefore be resolved, the town board hereby sets the amount of the said performance security at $3,070,594, and that the undertaking for the performance security shall be posted in cash or by letter of credit in a form acceptable to the town attorney. Present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
So, going back to the Continental Commons bond, I think, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to call Mr. Bodendorf, because I have the information on the Continental Commons one. I do not have the same layout on the Healy one. And I have to be able to compare the two.
That's fair.
So, whatever.
Can I ask you a question since we're on this? Is like, when were they notified prior to this vote? How far in advance were they notified this is the number?
2023.
They were notified that that was going to be the bond?
Well, notified might be strong. CPL issued that amount in, I believe it's December of 2023.
So they took a whole year, they couldn't come earlier and be working, and try to reduce this? I mean, how is it they came tonight with a complaint? This has been out there for a long time. I don't get that. That's why I voted for it. I got the sense that was going on. And, come back and try to work it out. But, I mean...
Thank you, Brian. So we did the item for special consideration, new and old business. Greg, anything?
Nothing.
John?
No.
Brian?
Not at this time.
Okay, so I just have one question on the budget. So we're having the public hearing for the we're having a public hearing for the budget on the 16th. We close the public hearing, can we vote on the budget that same night?
Sure.
Can you prepare that resolution?
Sure.
We can.
No, hold on a second. And that same night, if some of us want to make changes, we could do it the same night,
Once you've closed the public hearing, you can make final changes to the budget, yes.
prior to the resolution being passed.
Well, yeah, once you pass the resolution.
That's what I'm asking.
I have to be honest with you. I don't think it's good practice to ask the residents to come in and discuss the budget and say, hey, I think you should take that out, you should put that in. 5 minutes later, we're voting on the budget. Well, why are we even bringing them in for a public hearing if we're just gonna vote on the budget in 5 minutes?
Well, first of all, my budgets have been very open government. We've had.
I know open, but you want to vote on the budget same night that we're having a public hearing. Normally, public hearing, we hear stuff about we don't need, stuff we should have, and a lot of good things, and then we vote. I know you want to adopt the budget by a certain date, but I just think it's disingenuous to vote on the budget the same night of the public hearing.
What's your feeling on that, Brian?
I'm going to agree with him. I really do. I think it's good to
We've done it before. I didn't like it before either.
Okay, all right, so what we'll do is just have the public hearing and close it, make amendments if we make them, and then we're gonna have that November meeting.
Yeah, you have until the Thursday after Election Day, I think.
No, we won't cancel that meeting then.
Okay.
That's just the way it is. No big deal. Fair enough.
So we're gonna adopt the budget the Wednesday after the election?
No. So what we're gonna do, have the public hearing, hear the comments. If we make any amendments, we vote for the amendments, yes or no, and then wait till the November meeting, the first November meeting, to adopt the budget.
So we're gonna adopt the budget.
No, I
After the
apologize.
election.
Then first November meeting, we'll do it,
Which is the Wednesday after the election,
which will give you 3 weeks.
day after my birthday.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do it that way then.
Yeah.
Fair enough? Okay. All right, so the next town board meeting is October 16th.
Which is the public hearing on the budget.
Public hearing for the budget. Please attend or give us some comments.
Yes.
The budget is online on the town website. Another packed house today. I appreciate people coming to these meetings. It's pretty nice because there's a lot of town boards that no one even shows up to their meetings.
We have to get West Redoubt Road done, one way or the
Yeah,
other.
we got Mr. Gaba
Steve,
on
if
it.
that can please be a priority.
If they agree, we'll do it.
I hope they do. I mean, they're going
Do you want to have a special meeting in between to do it?
The way it sounds to me is either they can agree to do it because we're asking them to, or in a month we could end up back in the same situation
Outside,
where
they seem like
they're in
they were okay
violation
with
and they
that.
have to.
We
so.
heard that there's no money left, so they're going to get hit with the
We'll
town
see,
bill.
listen, if Mr. Gaba can get a deal
I
done,
think
we'll
we
have
can get
a
it
special
done for
board
the
meeting.
next meeting. I
and we'll knock
don't
it
know
out.
that you're gonna get it done before then. You gotta have a contract. I mean, we'll go as quick as we can, but Ozzy, I'm not optimistic.
If you do, we'll have an earlier meeting. If not,
All right.
all we can do is try.
I'll let you know what they say.
All right. Next town board meeting is what, the 16th?
Yes.
Thank you all for watching. Good night. God bless America.
God bless you.
Make a motion, second. Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.